One of the most common mistakes I see in adults over 60 is a habit that sounds disciplined and healthy. They stretch their meals later and later, nibble through the day, go light on protein, then eat a big dinner and call it fasting. If that sounds familiar, I want you to stay with me, because that pattern can quietly block fat burning and keep your body from entering repair mode. And let me say something else right up front. If you clicked because you heard that a 24-hour fast can regrow stem cells 1,000 times and melt stubborn fat overnight, that headline needs context. There is real science here, exciting science, but many people are applying it in the wrong way. That is where seniors get into trouble. Today I want to show you the mistakes first, because once you stop making them, better choices can start helping surprisingly fast. I'm Dr. William Lee, and I've spent years studying how the body repairs itself, how metabolism changes with age, and how everyday choices can either help or interfere with healing. What matters here is not deprivation. It is a metabolic switch that responds to timing, balance, and consistency, not extremes. Before we get into the fixes, tell me something in the comments. Which one sounds more like you right now? Snacking too often, eating too late, breaking a fast with the wrong foods, or trying to fast without a plan? Your answers show me where real life gets in the way. Here's the simple version of what is going on inside the body. When you eat, insulin rises. Insulin is not evil, you need it. But if insulin stays elevated for too much of the day, your body gets fewer chances to tap into stored fat. At the same time, some of the cleanup and repair programs that help cells stay efficient become less active. When you go without food for long enough, insulin begins to fall. Stored sugar in the liver starts to run low, and your body can shift toward using fat and making ketones. That shift is often called metabolic switching. What few people realize is that the stem cell story is more specific than the headlines make it sound. A 2018 cell stem cell study from MIT found that a 24-hour fast improved intestinal stem cell function in young and aged mice by shifting those cells toward fatty acid use. That is important, but it was in mice and it focused on intestinal stem cells, not every stem cell in the body. Then in 2024, the same group showed something more important. Regeneration was suppressed during fasting and surged after refeeding. In other words, the rebuilding signal did not peak during the fast, it peaked when the fast ended. That single detail changes everything. Because if you misunderstand it, you can do what many people do online. They obsess over how long they can go without food and ignore what happens next. For seniors, that is a serious mistake. Mistake number 1 is grazing through a long eating window and calling it healthy. I see this all the time. A little toast at 8, a flavored coffee at 10, crackers at noon, a granola bar at 3, fruit juice at 5, and dinner at 8:30. None of those bites feels like much. Together, they create a nearly constant fed state. Your body never gets a clean stretch long enough to lower insulin and settle into that fat-burning shift. This is where the problem builds. As we get older, many of us become more insulin resistant. That means the body has to work harder to manage the same amount of carbohydrate. Visceral fat, the deeper belly fat around organs, becomes more metabolically active and more inflammatory. So the all-day nibbling pattern that a younger person might tolerate can become a much bigger obstacle after 60. A 2022 randomized trial involving 90 adults with obesity found that early time-restricted eating over 14 weeks led to greater weight loss than a control schedule, 6.3 kilograms versus 4 kilograms, and improved diastolic blood pressure and mood. That does not prove everyone needs an aggressive fasting routine. It does tell us that when eating is compressed into a more intentional, earlier window, the body often responds. Let me give you a real-world example. A woman I'll call Elaine was 72 and convinced her problem was portion size. But when we looked closer, her first calories came before sunrise, and her last calories arrived while she watched television at night. She was never giving her metabolism a real break. Once she stopped the constant picking and moved to a cleaner daytime eating rhythm, her waist started changing before the scale moved much at all. That is a clue many seniors miss. Mistake number 2 is jumping straight into a 24-hour fast because the title sounded powerful. Please hear me clearly. A one-day fast is not a beginner move for everyone, especially if you are on insulin, sulfonylureas, certain blood pressure medicines, diuretics, or medicines that must be taken with food. Harvard experts have warned that older adults who are already lean can lose too much weight, and medication users can run into dizziness, low blood sugar, or electrolyte problems if they fast carelessly. This is where many seniors get caught off guard. They think the harder option must be the better option. That is not how the body works. A stressed, dehydrated, undermuscled body does not read a 24-hour fast as a clean reset. Sometimes it reads it as strain. Research in older adults reflects that nuance. A recent review suggested moderate structured fasting, including 16-8 plans, may support weight and metabolic health, but very restrictive windows may not fit everyone. Another 2021 review, looking specifically at muscle in older adults, warned that narrow eating windows can clash with the higher protein distribution older muscle needs to stay strong. That matters, because losing muscle while trying to lose fat is the opposite of healthy aging. So if you are proud of yourself for forcing a fast while feeling shaky, weak, or foggy, I want to interrupt that thought right now. That is not proof it is working. Sometimes it is proof the setup is wrong. Mistake number 3 is breaking the fast like a celebration instead of a transition. This may be the most overlooked part of the whole conversation. If a fast helps create the conditions for repair, the refeed tells the body what kind of repair to build. And if the first meal is a pile of refined starch, dessert, alcohol, or a huge late-night feast, you can create a sharp swing in glucose and insulin right when the body is most reactive. Remember that 2024 MIT paper. The post-fast period was the real regeneration phase in mice, driven by mTOR and protein-building signals. That sounds exciting, but it also came with a warning. In the mouse model, that same high-growth state also increased susceptibility to tumor formation when cancer-driving mutations were present. I am not telling you that a healthy meal after a fast causes cancer. I am telling you that the refeeding phase is biologically powerful, which means it deserves respect, not junk food. One man in his late 60s described this perfectly. He would do a long fast all day, then reward himself with pancakes, syrup, and bacon at night. He told me he felt deserving. What happened next is important. He also felt sleepy, bloated, and ravenous again the next morning. His fast was not failing because fasting never works. It was failing because the exit strategy was sabotaging the entry. Mistake number 4 is treating fasting as a substitute for muscle-preserving habits. This is a huge issue for seniors. Stubborn fat is not just a calorie problem, it is often a body composition problem. When muscle declines, the body becomes less efficient at handling glucose and less metabolically flexible overall. That means you do not just need a fasting window, you need a reason for the body to keep muscle. In a 2022 study of overweight men ages 65 to 74, a 6-week 16-8 eating pattern reduced body fat and BMI while keeping skeletal muscle mass nearly unchanged. That is encouraging, but do not miss the hidden lesson. The good outcome was not just from skipping food, it was from using a structured pattern in a population where muscle preservation mattered. The overlooked part is that fasting works best when the body has a job to protect. Walking, resistance bands, bodyweight squats to a chair, light dumbbells, carrying groceries safely, climbing stairs when able, these tell the body, keep this tissue, I use it. Without that signal, a poorly planned fasting routine can chip away at the very reserve older adults need most. Mistake number 5 is copying somebody else's fasting routine without respecting your own medical reality. If you have diabetes, kidney disease, a history of eating disorders, frailty, unexplained weight loss, advanced liver disease, active cancer treatment, gout, or frequent low blood pressure, this conversation has to be personalized. If you take thyroid medicine, blood thinners, stomach medicines, Parkinson's medicines, or anything that depends on timing with meals, the plan matters. If you wake at night, feel cold all the time, or already struggle to eat enough protein, a longer fast may be the wrong lever to pull. Now let's turn this around, because this is where better decisions can start helping within days, and that is often enough to calm cravings before visible weight loss begins. The first fix is to earn the 24-hour experiment, instead of chasing it. Start with a true overnight fast, not a pretend one. Finish dinner, then stop eating. No juice, no sweetened coffee, no handfuls of trail mix while cleaning the kitchen. Give yourself 12 solid hours overnight. If that feels steady for a week or two, some people can move to 13 or 14. If you tolerate that well and your clinician says it is safe, then an occasional 24-hour fast can become a tool, not a stunt. Notice the order. I am not starting with heroics. I am starting with a clean runway. That alone can reveal whether your body is ready. The second fix is to move the eating window earlier, not later. Many people do the opposite because nighttime feels easier socially, but the body's metabolic machinery is not the same at 9 at night as it is earlier in the day. Early time-restricted eating appears to help because it aligns more closely with circadian rhythms, your internal body clock. Translation: your body is generally better prepared to process food in the daytime than during late-night television hours. So here is a practical version. Eat a real first meal, not a sugary one, and try to make your last meal earlier than you do now. If you currently finish at 9:30, move it to 8:30, then 8. Do not underestimate how powerful that 1-hour shift can be when repeated every day. The third fix is the one most videos rush past: refeed with purpose. After a longer fasting stretch, your first meal should be calm, protein-forward, fiber-rich, and moderate in size. Think Greek yogurt with chia and berries, eggs with vegetables and avocado, lentil soup with salmon, tofu with greens and olive oil, chicken with beans and a salad, or plain oatmeal boosted with nuts and unsweetened yogurt on the side. The goal is not to make up for missed meals. The goal is to tell the body to rebuild intelligently. Here's what your body starts doing when you do that. Protein provides the amino acids needed for repair. Fiber slows the glucose rise. Healthy fats improve satiety. A balanced meal lowers the chance of the rebound overeating that makes people think fasting made them gain weight. And because the refeed matters so much biologically, this may be one of the most important fixes in the entire video. The fourth fix is to protect muscle on purpose. I want seniors to think less about eating less and more about signaling strength. On most days, especially if you are using any fasting routine, aim for protein spaced across your eating window, rather than cramming all of it into one giant dinner. Pair that with some form of resistance activity 2 to 4 times a week if your doctor says it is appropriate. It does not need to be fancy. What matters is consistency. If you are still with me, type the word muscle in the comments, because that one word may be the missing piece for more people than stem cells ever will be. The fifth fix is to use a 24-hour trial the smart way, only if you are a good candidate. Here is a safer example for a generally healthy older adult who has already done shorter overnight fasting well. Eat a balanced dinner at 6 in the evening with protein, vegetables, and healthy fat. Then fast until 6 the next evening using water, unsweetened tea, or black coffee if tolerated. Keep activity light that day, perhaps an easy walk. Break the fast with a modest meal, not a banquet. Then return to your normal healthy rhythm the next day. What should you expect? Not fireworks, not instant fat loss you can measure by bedtime. What some people notice first is less late-night hunger, more awareness of real appetite, and a sense that constant cravings are no longer in charge. Fat loss comes from repeating smart patterns, not from one dramatic day. And here is a pattern interrupt I want to leave with you. The hidden trigger is not simply don't eat for 24 hours. The hidden trigger is creating the right sequence, enough fasting to allow a metabolic shift, enough safety to avoid stress chemistry taking over, and a smart refeed that gives repair a better blueprint. That is a very different message from what viral videos often sell. A 2024 meta-analysis of 20 randomized trials found that time-restricted eating reduced body fat, body weight, BMI, and waist circumference overall, with 6 to 8 hour windows showing the strongest fat loss effect in many adults. But it also noted slight lean mass loss and a small LDL increase in some studies. That is exactly why I do not want seniors blindly copying extreme routines from the internet. The same tool can help or harm depending on how you use it. So what does this look like in real life if you are over 60 and want both safety and results? Think in layers. First, stop the all-day nibbling. Second, finish dinner earlier. Third, make the first meal after a fast count nutritionally. Fourth, give your muscles a reason to stay. Fifth, only test a longer fast if your health status and medications make it reasonable. That combination is far more powerful than chasing one flashy number. And yes, let's come back to the stem cell claim. Some research suggests fasting and refeeding can support regenerative pathways and stem cell activity. Studies indicate this is especially true in specific tissues and experimental models. But no responsible physician should promise you that your whole body will regrow stem cells 1,000 times in a day. What I can responsibly say is that better metabolic timing may help create a healthier internal environment for repair, lower insulin, reduce visceral fat over time, and improve the conditions under which your body maintains itself. That is a more honest promise, and in my view, a more useful one. If you are on medications, if you have diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, low body weight, or you have been losing weight without trying, please talk with your healthcare professional before doing a 24-hour fast. Never stop prescribed treatment just to copy a video. And if fasting makes you dizzy, confused, weak, or shaky, stop and reassess. Your body is giving you information, not failing a test. Let's bring this home. The big issue is not that your body forgot how to burn fat or repair itself. The big issue is that many seniors are using the wrong pattern. They graze too long, eat too late, refeed too hard, and forget that muscle is part of the metabolism story. Fix those mistakes, and progress often starts before dramatic weight loss ever shows up. So tell me in the comments, which mistake are you ready to fix first? The snacking, the late eating, the poor refeed, the lack of muscle work, or the no-plan fasting? If this kind of evidence-based breakdown helps you cut through health hype, subscribe and stay with me. In the next video, I want to show you which foods may naturally support the same fat burning and repair pathways without requiring a full-day fast at all.